tell your friends, tell your friends. The 3&D podcast here with my boy Wizzy Wayne. What's good, bro?
Nothing much, homie. Just listening to these beautiful train noises outside because you know that wind coming.
Tropical storm Beta.
Yeah, that homie Beta finna hit.
You know, sometimes I feel like tropical storms can do much more, not much more, but they can still do a lot of damage just like hurricanes.
Mm-hmm. Especially the slow ones like this. They're just gonna sit right on top of your location and it's chicken wraps, bro.
I mean, that's pretty much why Harvey destroyed us, because it literally just decided to camp for days. I mean, it wasn't a lot of wind or anything. It was just massive amounts of rain.
Yeah. Shout out Harvey, though.
No, not shout out Harvey.
Not really. We don't like you, Harvey.
We are trying to disassociate from Harvey, actually.
The only Harvey we like is Steve Harvey.
Yeah, that's good, too, because he has a great mustache.
He does.
I mean, it looks fake.
But it's not, and that's the crazy part.
It kind of looks like the hair on the top of your head, but on his upper lip. Just like really firm.
I need a haircut. Jeez, oh my goodness.
Yeah, you might.
We're not gonna talk about
okay,
that.
we're totally getting off right now. But hey, don't forget, you guys, you can follow us on Twitter at 3ND_pod, at 3ND_pod. Make sure to follow us there. And if you're listening to us on iTunes, don't forget to give us that 5-star rating and leave us a review. We will actually read them and appreciate anything you say. Unless it's negative, then we'll delete it.
No, I want negativity.
Yeah, our haters fuel us.
It gives me my motivation to be better.
YouTube, you can find us on YouTube as well. And we love if you subscribe to our page and also like our videos. We'd appreciate that as well. But it's time to get into it today. Wayne, if you don't mind, I think I'd like to start with a farewell poem for my Houston Rockets.
Okay, go ahead.
I spent some time on this, and I
goodness.
feel it's necessary.
Make sure you clip this and then just put it on Facebook, Twitter, all that.
Yeah, it might not even be
this.
good. It's my feeling. So here we go. Toast to another season, full of exciting experiences. Just to name a few: acquiring Russell Westbrook for CP3 this offseason, James Harden averaging 34 points, moving to an innovative small ball lineup, and advancing past CP3 and the Thunder in the first round with an incredible game-saving block by James Harden. Pause. I may be forgetting some. Toast to throwing away basically all of our future assets for a guy who makes my jump shot look max worthy. To Harden, forgetting how to play the whole second half of the season. To offloading Clint Capella so that 6'5" PJ Tucker could match up with Steven Adams and Anthony Davis. And to the Thunder, taking us to 7 games while a guy named Lou Dort nearly ended our season. And a toast to Daniel House, his inability to contain himself within a pivotal playoff series. Am I bitter? Of course. Am I somehow still optimistically hopeful? Unfortunately, yes. Much like the Rockets, how they never know how to end or resolve their season, I also do not know how to end this poem. Thank you.
Yes, sir. 10 out of 10. Please. I like that.
Does it express it accurately?
It does. I like the part in there you put about Lou Dort because he really did almost end your season.
I feel like there's no success in saying that we got past the Thunder while he scored 30 points on us in Game 7.
Yeah.
I don't feel like there's any pride in us saying that we moved on while he was literally the best player on the court still.
Man, he didn't even know he was going to do that. That's the crazy part.
Yeah.
He was just as shocked as we were.
So the Rockets did not do what the Nuggets did and come back from a 3-1 lead. Or down from 3-1 rather. It was pretty much what we expected, right? You know, the Rockets, it was pretty much a wrap after game 1. The game 1 was super hopeful. But as we spoke about, LeBron and the Lakers, they usually find a way to kind of just feel it out in that game one and then finish it out the rest of the way.
Yep. Run your straight 4-0. Gentleman's
Yeah.
sweep.
But it feels like an eternity ago that series was, honestly.
Yeah. I think that's because all the other series took too long to finish. So that, the Lakers just been sitting there chilling. Like, what we gonna do now? Oh, now you
Yeah,
get to play the Nuggets.
and also the games are they're moving so quick at this point too. I mean, every other day is a game. But I think they're having their first like the Boston Heat series. They just finished up game 3, but they won't play again until Wednesday. So they have like a really long break.
Oh, wow.
This has been like the first big break since the playoffs started. So I feel like that's going to be good for the players.
Okay. I'll take it.
Okay, so I mentioned the Nuggets too. This is the first team ever to come back from a 3-1 deficit twice in the playoffs in the same season, which almost sounds nearly impossible, but they actually did it. It's like they're the comeback kids. That's what they're calling them, the comeback kids. But what did you think about the Clippers Nuggets series and just how that, we'll get to the Clippers in just a second, but let's talk about the Nuggets real quick and just how they ended the Clippers and managed to find a way to squeeze past them and utilize Jokic and Murray.
Well, I don't know, man. The Nuggets, they just look like they wanted it more in the second half, especially in those, what was it, I think it was game 5 and 6, where they were down big at halftime. And the Clippers had every chance to close it out, and they didn't. I mean, you got 2 quarters left to play, and it looks like they just flip-flopped. And the Nuggets clamped up on defense. They made the Clippers look like they were, running around with their heads cut off, like chickens with their head cut off. Like, they just didn't know what to do with the ball. So shout out to the Nuggets, man, for stepping it up in those games. Those were crucial games too. I thought it was going to be over game 5 because they were up. Clippers were up 16, I think, at halftime, and then I was like, oh yeah, this is over.
It was a wrap. It was a wrap at halftime.
Like we talked about on the podcast too. And I was like, Doc Rivers told them we got to be up, we got to keep our foot on their neck and keep them down, and they didn't do that. And then, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, and then the Nuggets, they just, for whatever reason, in game 6, they were just like, we're in the same spot, so let's just do it again. And it worked. I'm sitting here like, Clippers, all you got it. I'm not, you know what? I'm gonna save that for later because I got bones to pick.
Yeah, there's a lot of thoughts on the Clippers.
But the Nuggets, they did an excellent job of just not giving up and just keep shooting until that shot goes in. Because all you got to do is see that shot go in, and that's a game changer. It clicks in your head, and you're like, all right, now we can get things going. Now we can do this. And they rallied around each other like a really good team should, and completely made the Clippers look irrelevant and ran the table and won that series. So shout out to the Clippers, man. They did a good job.
You mean the Nuggets?
I mean the Nuggets. My bad. That's how bad I want to talk about the Clippers, bro. This
is like you shouting out Harvey at the beginning of the podcast.
Yeah,
wrong one. Shout out. I feel like the biggest difference though in these is, the Nuggets, like this team has been together for maybe the last 5 years since they've drafted Jokic and Murray, and they've really had an opportunity to, miss the playoffs, grow together, have the right pieces surrounding them, and go through those tough losses last year in the playoffs. I mean, they went to Game 7 in the playoffs last year and ended up losing. Was it in the first round or the second round? Because they beat the Spurs in the first round last year, right?
Yeah, in Game 7, the Spurs.
And then I think they lost to the Blazers. Was the next round? Because the Blazers ended up going to the conference finals.
Yeah.
But I don't remember how many games they took them to. But the point is that they've had a chance to kind of, grow with this team together. Whereas like the Clippers, it was almost like throwing in a bunch of stuff in a bucket and hoping that it works. That was a bad analogy. But basically, you can't just throw a bunch of talent in one room or one team and expect, everything to just work out. And I think we saw that when things really when the pressure really started rising in that series, right when it was about 3-2 in the series. It was like, okay, this is where you see players that are, that actually really have it or they don't have it. And I think the Nuggets just did a really good job. They actually have an offense, right? They know they're going to run pick and roll with Murray and Jokic. They know that they're going to have guys attack the baskets. They know they got Gary Harris on the wing and he can defend on the other end. Like, they have all these pieces in place. And I just felt like, and we can move on to the Clippers now, but I really feel like the Clippers just collapsed. I mean, we saw all the same games together. I mean, it looked like they were just a shell of themselves after game 5 into the rest of the series.
Yeah, I don't know what happened, man. Like, I don't understand it. I can't get it. I can't grab, like, my head can't comprehend what happened
Well,
because
and it's funny too, because we were talking about finals predictions way back, and we were talking about the Bucks who got kicked out in the second
yeah.
round, and now we're talking about the Clippers
Hmm.
being kicked out in the second round. Both teams that, like, if you would have said in the East who's coming out, I would have said Bucks. If you would have said the West who's coming out, I would have said Clippers.
It's crazy, man. They didn't want it. And you see what happens when playoff P turns into pandemic P. It don't
Mm.
work out.
I mean, he literally clanked it off the side of the backboard in that fourth quarter.
We don't we let's
I feel
I don't
like any
even
professional basketball player, even if you're a center, like, you could at least hit the rim. Like, this dude literally was like in far, left field, right field, and just to me that was kind of like the cherry on top to really go, okay, there's no way they even have a swing to even make this interesting in that fourth quarter. As soon as he hit the side of that backboard.
look. They didn't want it from game 5, second half, and it really showed. They I guess they just forgot how to play basketball, to be honest with you. And I'm not gonna put the whole loss on this one person, but the tide definitely shifted to the Nuggets' favor in game 5 when Lou Will was AWOL. When he was gone and he couldn't hit anything, he ended that game with like 4 points, I think. When his shot was off, when the Clippers needed him most to be that six man to come off the bench and like do something, and he wasn't there, that's when the Nuggets won game. They won their second game. Then they came back game 6, won a third game, and then game 7, like everybody was just gone. Everyone was
Well,
depleted.
it wasn't just him either, but it was his running
Oh
mate
no,
off
it
the
wasn't just
bench
him.
too. I mean, it was Montrezl Harrell, like, could not defend Jokic like one bit, and really couldn't find his offense against uh, that Nuggets defense. Like, they both were. I mean, Lou Will maybe had a good game here and there, but even he's hard to keep on the floor. He's great on the offensive end, but as soon as you go back on the on defense, like, they're targeting him because they know he stands no chance.
Yeah. I think the Clippers, like the Lakers, how they guard Jokic, and we'll talk about that in a second too. But like they have, I don't know how to say it, like how to put it, but they have different kinds of bigs. I guess you have AD who can score. We know he's going to give you like 30, 35 a game, whatever. But then you have Dwight Howard and JaVale McGee, who we don't really need them to score much, but we just need them to go out and guard the best big man
Yeah, they're bigger
right now.
bodies who can handle Jokic.
Yeah. And so we don't really need AD to do much against Jokic. We put Dwight, we put JaVale on him and let him do his and let them do their thing. And with the Clippers, I mean, you got Zubac, which is I don't really
I mean,
I don't know.
yeah,
But other than Zubac, like
Zubac held his ground, but he could not be the only one to play.
but even
He
then,
couldn't play 48 minutes and handle Jokic.
exactly, because you have to give him some time, and then whoever you put on the floor has to be able to pick up where he left off. And Montrez could not pick up where he left off,
No.
and that was the whole issue. Like once you let those guys catch a rhythm, like you when Doc Rivers says keep your foot on their neck, what he meant was like whatever we were doing in the first half, do it again in the second half. And so they went back on the floor and they started switching things up, and they were like, no, do what worked. Whatever worked in the first half obviously is working. Like they're down by 16, so got to keep that going, and they just didn't do it. So
Doc Rivers is a good coach. I mean,
he is,
there's a reason he's been with the Clippers for years now, and he's a players coach too. I mean, but does he deserve any blame for this. I mean, one of the things I had tweeted about a couple of days, like we would love to point that finger at players, but like this is not the first time in Doc Rivers' career where, as a coach, he's lost a 3-1 lead. I think he's done it a couple times. Once against Houston, where it was that Josh Smith, Corey Brewer
Oh
comeback, where
my
the Rockets ended
goodness.
up, coming back and
Wale.
winning the series. And one in his early days with the Magic and the T Mac days. But is there any blame to be put on him, or is this pretty much the players?
Um, I would put some blame, not a lot though. I wouldn't put the majority of the blame on Doc Rivers, but as a head coach, some of it does fall back on you because like it they were just ill equipped to finish that series. And yes, the guys are missing shots, but part of that comes back on coaching and getting your guys in the correct spot and calming them down. Because like when they were looking all frantic out there and stuff, there has to be times, there has to be something you can do or say to kind of bring your guys in and be like, look, we're losing it right now. We need to calm down and get things going back in our way. And it looked like that never happened. Whenever they were up and that second half came in and then they lost the game in game 5 and in game 6, there has to be something you can, you know, some not like a motivational speech or anything. You don't have to like have a speech prepared, but there has to be something that you can do as a coach, draw up plays, get people more organized so they don't run out there and not know what the heck to do.
And I felt like Doc with this team maybe thought that. And listen, I mean, I don't know. I mean, he could be, doing all the things that I'm saying, but I'm just kind of blowing smoke here. But it feels like even with this team, because there's so much talent, that it's almost like, well, I only, when they do like the sideline, coaches are mic'd up and the timeout huddles, and it's like literally I could do that.
Yeah.
Anybody could do what this. It's literally like, hey guys, we got to give some more effort. We got to get back on the other end. Let's make smart choices.
Mm-hmm.
Pass the ball to the open man, keep the ball moving, like literally all the basic things. And
Yeah.
I feel like Doc, even with this team, probably saw that there was so much talent that he really didn't need to go to X's and O's. But I felt like after that game 5, it was like, okay, it's time to drop some X's and O's, because you can't really rely on just talent. But I don't think there's enough blame for him to say like we need to find a new coach, because honestly I don't know if there's much better coaching choices like out on the market right now to that you would say, oh yeah, they're better than Doc Rivers. But I guess, do the Clippers need to make any moves, do you feel like? I mean, I've heard some crazy things, honestly. One of the crazy things I've heard is that they need to legitimately think about moving on from Paul George, which I disagree with, but I've heard it.
Yeah, I don't think you need to move on from Paul George. No, it's too early for all that. Um, I don't think they need to make any huge changes. I just think they need to just get their crap together and finish it out. Because we know going in the next season, we already know they're gonna make the playoffs, hands down. Unless unless something crazy happens, they're gonna be in the playoffs. Doesn't matter what. I don't care what seeding they're in. They're gonna be in there. Um,
Well,
so at this point,
even when LeBron went to Miami that first time with D Wade and Chris Bosh, like they flamed out in that first year against Dallas, I think it was,
mhm.
and everybody expected them to go and win it all. So I mean, it's not always guarantee, right?
No, it's not. But I think for them, they just need, like we said with the Nuggets, like the Nuggets, they have that group mentality. They've been together for so long that they know each other and they know what to say to each other to kind of pick each other up and get the ball rolling again. With the Clippers, they got to establish that that broness, like get on the same level with everybody. I'm trying to think of the word. They just need to
That
come together more, like be a unit instead of being individual players who are on the same team.
that's
Be
kind of
together.
that's kind of hard with a veteran team though, right? Because at that point in their careers, like they're not really worried about team chemistry and hanging out all the time, like younger guys would do. Like even both Kawhi and Paul George, they kind of signed the 2-year contracts with the Clippers, with the second year being an option, or is it the third year is an option? So the Clippers, they don't even have a lot of time to be like, yeah, we're locked in for the next 5 years. We'll be all right. Like they got to think quick on their feet, because there's no guarantee these guys come back. So I agree with you. one part is, yeah, we gotta lock in and be a team and get that chemistry going. But to me, the other part is like we just have to make sure that we actually have an offense that we believe in and can execute what we want to execute. And I kind of feel like they needed this because they really acted like they won the championship before the season started. Like a lot of their players, like even Pat Bev, when he was, barking at Beverly from the free throw line, in the bubble, saying, like waving to him like he did in the playoffs last year and mocking him and doing all these things. This was Pat Beverly, and Paul George was chiming in, and they were saying Cancun on 3 on Instagram to Damian Lillard.
Yeah,
I mean, they were
yeah,
really acting like they had won the championship already. And I think they really got humbled through this situation, which I think needed to happen.
yeah. That, yeah. I guess you can look at it that way. It's like a humbling experience. They probably should have just, kept their mouth shut, played basketball, moved on to the next game, get things done, and then when you're done and you win the chip, you can say whatever the heck you want because you're the champions.
All I got to
But
say is in that last game before they got kicked out, the dynamic duo, it was Pandemic P and Kawhi. Can't you make a shot? Because
yes,
honestly, Kawhi went like 4 for 17. I mean, we put a lot of blame on Paul George, but there's a little bit of blame on Kawhi too. You got
yeah,
to show up in the last. Okay, and I can't talk as a Rockets fan because James Harden doesn't show up in the last games either. But I do believe that we can hold Kawhi kind of in a greater status to put him on this, pinnacle. So, he didn't really show up either, but yeah, good luck Clippers. I just say run it back, don't do anything drastic. Just run it back, learn from this and give it a go next year.
keep your mouth shut, move on to the next game. That's all you got to do.
Yeah, now we could be yelling Cancun on 3 to Pat Bev.
Yep.
So now that Denver has moved on, they're facing the Lakers. We've only seen one game from them so far, and the other game is, I think, that is being played right now as we speak. I think they're hopping right into the third quarter. The last time I checked, it was like 55-45.
I'm gonna check for you
Lakers
real
were
quick.
up. Yeah,
It is 62-72 Lakers.
62. Oh, okay,
62-72.
okay. So still a lot of game left to play, but I, you know, this series is really interesting because I think what everybody's expecting, which they probably shouldn't, is that Denver, even if they get down real big in this series, down 3-0, down 3-1, they're still going to make it back because they're the comeback kids and they've done it 2 series in a row before this. But I don't think you're going to get to do this for this Lakers team because you got a guy in LeBron who's way smarter than that, anticipating all this. But I mean, I think that Denver can make it interesting, but I really think LA is going to make this a 5 or 6 game series. And, it's pretty much going to be call quits past that point.
Yeah, I don't see this series going 7. I don't even think I see it going 6, to be honest with you. I think it's going to be like maybe a gentleman's sweep
I mean,
type
the
of thing.
last 2 have been 5 games for the Lakers.
Yeah, and I think LeBron, I just can't go against LeBron. I can't. Not anymore. Not he's done too much. He's proven to me. He's shut me up so many times. I'm just not even going to do it anymore. So LeBron knows how to close games. He knows. I mean, he's been in the league for how many seasons? He knows how to get things done whenever it matters. So even
Yeah.
if there is a close game in this series or whatever, I still count on LeBron coming out there and pooping on the Nuggets just because he can. So
Yeah.
I don't really see this. I mean, it's going to be competitive because these are both really good teams, and the Nuggets just don't want to lose. But you can't go against LeBron and his experience and his basketball IQ, and I'm not going to do it. And then
This is
AD, no, I'm not going to do it.
this is good for the Nuggets though, right? I mean, because we talk about growing pains for the Clippers, like the Nuggets to get to the Western Conference Finals, to me, that's a big accomplishment. Like, even if you don't make it past the Lakers, like they're a veteran team. You guys are still a really young team. This is good experience for them, I feel like.
Oh, for sure.
But it's there's two there's a lot of interesting things in this series. One of the things I think you had already alluded to already, but Jokic, he really didn't have to deal with somebody and those first. So he had to deal with Gobert in the Jazz series, but that was more on the defensive end because Gobert's not really a threat on offense.
Mm-hmm.
Then in the Clippers, it was like between Zubac and Trez, which both of them really didn't give him anything on the offensive end and really on the defensive end. It's a little bit different with Anthony Davis.
Mm-hmm.
This dude had 37 in the first game. I mean, and not only is he a threat inside, but he can take it to the 3-point line and the mid range. I mean, he can extend the whole floor. And so if Jokic is expending all that energy to guard Davis, it's going to be a lot harder for him to give what his team needs from him in order to lead to some wins because he's spending all that energy trying to keep up with Davis in this series.
Yeah. And even on the other end, like maybe Davis isn't guarding him. Maybe it's JaVale McGee. Maybe it's Dwight Howard, who are going to make him work for every bucket. Because
Yeah,
they're not going to do anything on the other end, but they'll
they
make him
both
earn it.
neutralized him a little bit in that first game. I mean, Dwight had like 13 points, but he guarded Jokic really well.
Yeah. So that's going to be really where I guess where the line is drawn as far as how the Nuggets have been able to come back in both of those prior series is you can't really get Jokic involved in this one. I mean, you can try, but the more you try, the more he's going to I mean, the matchups are just too much for him, I guess.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, the key, so he could be the key to the series if he finds a way to beat those guys, all those bigs. But if it's not him, it's got to be Murray. Murray's got to have one of those series like he had against the Jazz where he's just ripping dudes apart. But
yeah.
I don't even think that's going to happen either because you have a bunch of guys you can throw on him too. Like KCP can guard pretty well. Alex Caruso can guard well. LeBron can guard him in moments. Like Danny Green is a good perimeter defender. Like all these, they have a bunch of options to throw at Murray too. So they're really neutralizing both of the guys where they find almost all of their offense from, which is going to be a really hard thing for them to figure out. But the big thing for Denver in this first game was they got murdered in transition. And Jokic even said it himself, like when we score the basket, we have to get back. We can't like ease our way back because the Lakers are running and gunning already. And so I think the Lakers kind of were anticipating this in the game that's happening tonight. Like when a team knows what the other team is saying, like, yeah, they killed us in transition. The team that killed them in transition is going, okay, they're going to be doing things much better. So we have to counterattack that. So like Lakers are kind of already one step ahead of them, even though the Nuggets think they're countering what happened in the first game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Sometimes I guess it's better to kind of like keep things to yourself. Don't really just like
Right.
let them say it out to the media. Well, I mean, he didn't say anything like bad or anything like that. It wasn't like what's his name, Michael Porter, who was like, "We're gonna get more guys involved." I mean, then he kind of backed it up, but like it wasn't to that extent. He just said, we're getting killed in transition, so now the Lakers are like, "Oh, cool." So now we know what to do.
Right. We know what to expect in this next one.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm not gonna like jump on Jokic for saying that, but yeah, transition. We're in the Showtime Lakers era yet again, and where they're just gonna, okay, you scored a basket, that's cool. We got a dude gunning down the court. Let me just inbound it to him. He's gonna chunk it down the court for alley-oop, full court alley-oop, and then now you're down two again. So we're in that era where they're just gonna run the floor, and they got guys who can just run. Like they're not gonna get tired because
Right.
this is what they do.
And they got guys running with them. Like it's not just LeBron pushing it and four guys trailing him. Like all those
Oh,
perimeter guys are getting set up on the three as soon as they come to double LeBron at the rim. He has players he can kick it out to. And so I think you want to make the Lakers play a half court game. Like you want them to run their offense in half court and not transition, because even though yes they can dump it down to Davis and the post and LeBron can get some things set up, they're much more dangerous when their defense leads to their offense. And we got to give credit to the Lakers because like that's the thing. They've just been incredible defensively, and that's why they're able to score and get out in transitions, because they make it disturbing for the Nuggets every time they try to get back on that end and do something. So credit to them. And also an X factor, not only in this series, but last series, Rajon Rondo. He has been killing it, man. And I don't know what it is, but he he is almost like redefined his shot. And it's hard for me to believe in Rondo because I feel like
Yeah.
I've said this before about him. You know, we always say this, but I feel like you love to have him in a playoff series because he's just got the smarts for it. He's almost like another assistant coach literally playing in the game with you. But he's been great in setting up dudes, almost like a legit third option for them. I know Kyle Kuzma is kind of that guy beyond LeBron and Davis, but Rondo just has the experience. And I mean, he's been looking really good.
Yeah. I'm not the biggest Rondo fan, but
Most
I
people are
do
not.
I respect Rondo and I respect his game to the nth degree. Like that dude can hoop for sure. And he knows his role. He knows he's gonna go out there and facilitate and he can get you a bucket if you need it here and there, but he's gonna go get other guys involved and keep the ball moving and like fake out the defense and stuff like that. So he knows what he can do best. Um, so yeah, and especially in this series where they need people to just, attack, feed LeBron, attack, feed Davis, hit Danny Green in the corner for a three, let Kuzma backdoor cut, lob it up to him, let him dunk on somebody's head. They need someone with the IQ to see all those things and move the ball around. So yeah, Rondo is an X factor because he's basically like, as far as IQ goes, he's just LeBron light. Like LeBron has like
Yeah.
Nostradamus IQ on the basketball court. The dude just knows he can see your move before you even do it because he's gonna set it up this way and all that stuff. And then Rondo is just like, all right, cool, I'm gonna help you, LeBron. When you backdoor cut, I'm gonna throw it to you, and then you're gonna throw it up to AD, and then like I don't understand it,
I
but
mean, probably two of the best basketball minds on the court at the same time, though, like
exactly.
Rondo and LeBron. I could see Rondo being a coach one day for sure,
Oh
and
heck
even
yes.
starting out like as an assistant coach and moving on to a head coach. It would be fun to see him uh, doing that, even though he reminds me of a turtle the way he looks. But
You just had to throw that in there, man.
I did. It wasn't even in my notes. I just thought of it.
He gonna see this podcast and be like, all right, I see you.
uh, so what are we giving the Lakers in this? What 5-6 games?
I'll give him 5. Gentleman sweep.
You think the Nuggets pull out one or pull out two possibly? This is not going to be a sweep.
Gentleman sweep.
Okay.
They
I
game
think
one.
I think I agree with that, even though we said the same exact thing the last series when they matched up with the Clippers.
This is true.
So,
This is true.
but honestly, if that helps for them to win of us going against them, then I'm still down for us to go against them because I'd love to see the Nuggets advance. Honestly, I'm not going to lie. So
Ooh, okay. That'd be kind of interesting.
I'd like to see a Nuggets Heat series. I don't know. Uh,
Oh,
let's move on to the Heat though. Miami versus Boston. Heat up 2-1 right now. Celtics won last night. What have been your initial thoughts kind of just on these 3 games so far?
well, shoot. I thought that it was just going to be chicken wraps after they went down, even after like the first game. Because I mean, the first game was pretty good. Like it was a nice game. It was a solid game. Which one did they go into overtime at all? Was that the first game?
Um,
I can't remember. I know it was a really good
there's,
game.
I don't think they did.
Maybe
I
I'm thinking
can't
something
remember
else.
honestly.
Anyway, I remember it being a very good game. So
Wait,
they
yes, they
went down.
did.
They did.
I think it was game 1. I don't know, man.
I just
Let's
remember it being a very good game. That's
let's
all I'm
say
saying.
they did.
Okay, but anyway, lost game 1, and I was like, and that's the thing we're talking about with the Heat, and in those moments, those key clutch moments when you need that fight and that dog. Those are the moments we're talking about where they can overcome those things because they get in your head, they frustrate you, they get you off your shot, and yeah. So then, oh yeah, it was because Jason Tatum almost hit that really clutch shot in overtime where he caught the ball and fell down and then got up and then shot it and he missed. I think that was game 1 of that series, of this Heat Celtic series.
Wasn't wasn't game 1 where Bam had the huge block against Tatum
That's
on
the
that
same game.
driving dunk?
Yeah, same game.
Okay,
Wait,
yeah.
no, that was game 2. I mean, it don't matter. These games
It's
have been
all
really good.
it's all running together at this point,
Yeah, these
honestly.
games have been really good. And so they came back game 3 and they won game 3. and I believe Hayward was back for that one too. I don't think he did that great, but he's back. He's an extra body on the floor that can score.
I mean,
So
he didn't have an amazing game, but like I think it freed them up so much more just knowing that they have a guy who can create.
yeah,
And I just found this out today, but I think we talked on the last pod about how his wife's about to have their fourth child, so he was going to come back from injury, but then end up leaving again to go to his wife's, pregnancy, or that's not the right word, her delivery, labor, whatever you want to call it.
yep.
But I found out today that he's actually not going now. Like he's going to stay in the bubble, which my wife would kill me. But hey, to each his own. If she's cool with that and he's cool with that, then do your thing.
But remember, when NBA players have kids, it's wraps.
It's a wrap.
So
Talk to Fred VanVleet.
expect Gordon Hayward to drop 55 next game, just cause.
So, did you see Gordon Hayward's mustache?
No, I did not.
Dude, he's got a very defined mustache right now. It is ugly, but it's popping. And I heard somebody give him this nickname. The Rockets have Eric Gordon,
Mm-hmm.
and so they call him Splash Gordon because he can shoot, anywhere from beyond the arc if he's really got it going. Somebody said we should call Gordon Hayward Stache Gordon because of the defined mustache and his first name is Gordon. I said, hey, that works out perfect. Stache Gordon. That's what I'm going with. But what I was trying to say about him earlier was, right, he didn't have an amazing game. He was like 2 for 7 points. But, like, he came in there and, like, one of the first plays, nice pick and roll, dump action to Daniel Tice for an easy dunk. Like, just having another guy who can create beyond Brown, Kemba, and Tatum is just another weapon, especially coming off the bench. Now you got Wanamaker, Cantor, and then Hayward coming off the bench to give you some juice.
Yeah. And I've always liked Gordon Hayward. Like I've never been one to, go against Gordon Hayward or think he can't do. Like the dude's nice. When he's on the floor, kid's got the juice. So
Yeah.
I like this. I like him coming back and being able to help out this Celtics team. I think that might be the actual like defining moment for this series is him being able to come back and be that extra option, like you said, to be able to space the floor so they don't key in on all these people. Now you got to worry about Gordon Hayward, who's probably going to sit in the corner and wait for the ball to swing to him and splash that three. So
what Miami did amazing in the first two games was, and this is what Toronto did against Boston to kind of neutralize them, but they implemented that zone defense to where they were basically, in a way, like daring them to shoot from the outside. And the rotations Miami makes on defense is incredible. Those dudes just hustle, like Jay Crowder, Jimmy Butler, Goran Dragic, Bam, like they all just hustle on those rotations in the zone defense. But, the first two games, there wasn't any adjustments made by Boston. But what happened in the third game, you saw it right from the jump. They just started attacking the basket through that zone defense, and it really worked in their favor. And unlike the first two games, Boston had a big lead in both the first two games, and it ended up giving it up to the Heat. But you never saw that really happen this game other than like the last minute. But it was kind of like a fake run by the Heat at the end at that point. But what they did really well was, just attack the basket because the lanes probably open up a little bit more on that zone defense. And with, they want you to try to play man-to-man because they know that they can come over and guard you if you try to, cut this way or cut that way. But Boston did a really good job at countering that, and I think it, ended up giving them the win, especially after all the heated discussion with Marcus Smart and all them yelling in the locker room after game 2, which really didn't surprise me. I mean, did that surprise you?
I mean, it's just frustration. I mean, they were down 2-0. You gotta let them get it out.
I don't know why that has to be public. You know what I mean? Like, I
the
feel
media
like
has to have something to talk about.
Literally all the time.
They got to have something to talk about, So they're gonna, if you do something like that, they're gonna pick it out and be like, "Oh, look at this team. They're cracking under pressure. They can't take it," and give Stephen A. and Max Kellerman something to talk about the next day. So it is what it is.
I was like, I mean, I was kind of happy it happened because I knew that was going to fuel them, going to the
Yeah.
next game, have some chippiness, have something to work towards. But yeah, I don't know why everything has to be publicized, but um, I mean, I guess that is their job. But Marcus
And I,
Smart, uh, and this was another thing that they changed, but Marcus Smart ended up guarding Dragic from the start instead of Kemba Walker guarding Dragic, which was really good because Kemba was guarding Crowder to start game 3, which you would think like, oh, there's a mismatch there, but you're not going to have Jay Crowder like going down to the post. Like he's mainly going to be a perimeter guy who sits out there and shoots threes. So Marcus Smart did, or I guess I should give credit to Brad Stevens for making that change. But you know what? Marcus Smart, if he had like a reliable jump shot, he would, I think we would be talking about him as one of the top 10 players in the league because he's got the hustle that's already there. He's got the energy, he's got the defense. If he could gain a reliable jump shot and maybe a tighter handle like this, we'd be talking about this dude at least top 10, top 15 in the league, right?
yeah, he's nice, real nice on the floor, and he does all the hustle things. He does all the little like behind the scenes stuff that you need a player to do to make sure you get the ball on your team side so they can score. So yeah, if his shot was a little better, if he could cross people up, break some ankles, yeah, we'd probably talking about him in top. I'll give him top 15 players in the league.
Yeah.
But another thing about that little scuffle or whatever heated thing, whatever, um, and how the media just like they just love to take things and take it out of proportion. I guess Marcus Smart is smart, and and so if he's yelling at the team or yelling in the locker room, in my mind, that's not going to be anything detrimental. That's not going to be anything that's going to tear the team apart to where they just don't play for each other and then they end up losing the series 4-0. He just wants to light the fire. And
Yeah.
so they started coming out with all that stuff like, oh, they're yelling in the locker room and blah, blah, blah. I was like, he was just trying to light a fire under this team.
You need a guy
And
like that on your team. Like
yeah,
every team needs a guy like that.
shoot. And it worked. I mean, like they came out and they won. So shoot, Marcus Smart, do it again every
Uh,
game.
I was interested to know your take on this because you're a huge Spurs fan, but
Let's get it.
Dragic has been getting a lot of comparisons to Manu Ginobili, just in terms of the lefty shot and the shiftiness and the footwork. Because Dragic isn't really like super speedy. He just knows angles and he knows how to stop on a dime and he knows how to get around guys, even though he's not the fastest guy. And that was kind of the same thing with Ginobili in a way. Like he was athletic, but he wasn't like LeBron athletic. He just knew angles and knew how to beat you off the dribble because he was shifty and crafty.
Oh yeah, Manu Ginobili was slow. Let's put it, let's say what it is. He was slow, but he knew how to use that to his advantage, and that's where that whole Euro step thing came in, where he just and then put it up with the left, like Drake said, left hand like Ginobili. Anyway, if you know, you know. But yeah, I guess I could understand why people are comparing him to Manu Ginobili.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't know.
yeah,
I thought it was interesting, but I will
I kind of like
say
that.
the Miami Heat, I feel like have to be the number one team in the NBA to have the coolest names.
I'm with you.
Bam,
I'm with you.
Goron, Duncan, Tyler Hero. Like they got a lot of nice names. I don't know if
It's
that
just
has anything to do
easy.
with play and confidence, but I just thought it was cool.
They got a lot of swagger, man. That's
They
it.
got swagger. Tyler Hero's got a lot of swagger.
Yo, Tyler Hero is that dude, man.
He does not look like a rookie out there.
No, he been here. He's seasoned veteran.
I feel like I think he came from Kentucky. If you come from Kentucky in college, like you already know what bright lights look like.
Oh yeah, he was made for this.
I think I give the Heat. So when me and you spoke last week, you gave the Heat the advantage in the series just simply off of like grit and energy, and I gave the Celtics uh, the advantage simply off of like skill. I think my mind's changing a little bit, even though Celtics got that win last night. But I'll hold true with my Celtics in 7 pick. Are you gonna hold true with the Heat in 6 or 7?
Yes, I'm gonna hold true to that.
Yeah, Jimmy Butler spoke last night about how like they really can't keep coming from behind. Like that's not healthy for them to just get behind and think that they're always going to make the comeback after halftime. And it finally happened in game 3. So I think we're going to see a much more aggressive first half from them, because that's usually any halftime comes, they're down 10-13, and the second half is where they turn it up. I think they're going to start going, okay, we need to turn it up, 10% more in the first half and keep the same energy in the second half.
Yeah, running gun in the first half, and then I mean you don't really want to coast, but you want to like get a nice lead that you can build upon, so you don't have to come from behind, and it's like now you're constantly having to, you know, move down the court real fast because you're playing from behind. Get comfortable, get a nice lead. That way, that's where that grit comes in because you can keep them down. That's what Doc Rivers and them Clippers need. They need that grit to keep teams down where they, but like we got you down, you ain't coming back up. That's it. The Heat
Yeah.
got that.
Jimmy Butler had a really good first 2 games. He didn't have such a great game last night, but I think it was either Mark Jackson or Jeff Van Gundy that said this over the broadcast. And I thought it was so true. It was like Jimmy Butler is one of those superstars that doesn't have to score 26 in a game for you to view him as a superstar. Like he could go 2 for 7 and have the greatest impact on the game still.
Yeah, that's true. I believe that.
Because even in like game 2 down the stretch, he had like 2 big steals that like pretty much sealed the game. Like it's those kind of plays that make him who he is. Like, and he's just fine if everybody else gets shots, and if he had only taken 4 shots and they got the win. That's what makes Jimmy Butler unique, is because he honestly does not care about stats. He just cares about winning, and you can see it in the way he plays.
Yeah. Shout out Jimmy Buckets, man.
Jimmy Buckets. I think he's a Texas guy. Tomball, Texas, I think. So shout out Texas
Shout,
Ballers.
shout out Texas, bro. Hey, we out here. I didn't know that.
All right, we have our third guy in NBA history who has won the MVP and the Defensive Player of the Year in the same season. Congrats to Giannis Antetokounmpo for being announced the MVP of the season. Wayne, your thoughts?
First off, his name is Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Antetokounmpo.
I remember when he first started blowing up because oh, it's Giannis, and no one could say his last name, and so people were just like Giannis Antetokounmpo. Oh yeah, him. Yeah.
The Greek Freak.
Yeah.
That's when that came out, when nobody
Yeah,
can pronounce his name. It's like, we'll just call him the Greek Freak.
Yeah. Shout out to Giannis. I knew it was gonna happen from the jump. I was like, Giannis gonna win MVP. It is what it is. And there are always the people who are like, you can give it to LeBron every year because he does this and that and blah blah blah. And you can make a valid point. That's cool. But when you look at what Giannis is doing, especially with the number of minutes that he's playing, because he's playing like less minutes than it was a stat where Giannis is playing less minutes than any other MVP that won like in recent years or whatever. And like Steph Curry, when he won MVP, he was averaging like 34 minutes a game. Then LeBron won MVP and he was averaging like 36 minutes a game or whatever. And then Giannis wins MVP and he's averaging 30 minutes a game. Like he's putting up MVP numbers in less time.
And
so
this is a regular season award.
True. Regular season.
We don't have to justify his award by what happened in the playoffs because it's a regular season award.
Yeah. If we did it by the postseason, then you could have a legit argument for other people. I would even argue like James Harden could be in there at in some capacity, because in the postseason, like he was still the most unguardable player in the NBA. Like I can't stress that enough. James Harden is unguardable. The only person that guards James Harden the best is himself.
Wayne, I'm done talking about the Rockets. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Done talking about. Just go back and listen to my farewell poem at the beginning. It's time to move on until next season when I can dream unrealistically.
Just plug that poem in right here. I'm just kidding. So yeah, Giannis, this is back to back for him, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude's a stud, man.
Yeah. So I will say though, he posted like a picture on Twitter of him in an airplane reading the newspaper, and on the front of the newspaper it was alluding to him being the 2-time MVP. I was like, honestly, he shouldn't have posted that because that is like meme central. Like you could make a meme out of literally any information you want. You could just throw it on that newspaper. Now, I think I saw some people say, like they threw up like one of the headlines being Jimmy Butler defeats the Bucks in 5 games, and Giannis is sitting there reading it.
In
I'm
the
like, you
airport.
set yourself up for that one, honestly.
Yeah, I mean the internet is always undefeated, so
What I
they
do
can make
like though,
anything.
he had his interview with Adam Silver or Ernie Johnson. I can't
Oh
remember which
yeah,
one.
yeah,
But what he said, and I think last year he said, don't call me the MVP until something happens. This year he said, don't call me the 2-time MVP till I'm a champion, which I really like that he said that because he knows that it's, even though he's grateful for the award, like he's got a lot of work to do as a player. And I think he realizes that and, doesn't want anybody to misunderstand his intentions.
yeah. I can't stress this enough. Giannis wants to hoop. That man wants to play. He wants to win. So yes, we can say he needs to develop this, he needs to develop that, he needs to do this and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, this man wants to compete and he wants to play basketball at the highest level he possibly can, which is why I think he goes out there with all that intensity and all that animosity, and he just like it doesn't matter who's in front of him. He's going to, like we talked about, dribble, 2-step, dunk from the 3-point line. So
Yep.
it is what it is. Giannis is the MVP. Well, you know what? I'm not gonna call him the MVP until he gets a ring. He said it, so I'm not gonna call him that.
No, he said, don't
But
call me the 2-time
two-time
MVP.
MVP. I'm not gonna call him 2-time MVP until he wins the ring, but I'll call him MVP of the Rona season. How about that?
Yeah. All right. So we'll end on this. I want your thoughts, but I guess it was a couple of days ago, or the day that it was announced, LeBron says that he was pissed off because he only got 16 first place votes. Does LeBron have a right to be pissed off, or does he even have a right to express frustration, or does he have the right because he's been 17 years in the NBA now and he's basically always in the MVP conversation?
You know what? I thought about this a little bit because when I first heard about it, and I was like I understand what he's saying. Like, of course he's gonna be mad. He didn't win. But then I thought about it a little more, and I was like, he only got 16 votes out of how many votes are there? I'm not entirely sure.
I have no
But
idea.
I thought it was going to be a lot closer as far as like the voting, but I guess it wasn't.
I
I
really didn't. I didn't think so because LeBron's surge for this past season was really in the second half of the season.
This
Is
is
when we
true.
started really considering him for he could be, the MVP, but Giannis was doing it all season.
Yeah. So I mean, but that was me. Like, I just thought it was going to be a lot closer. So I mean, I guess I understand his frustration. He can be frustrated about only getting 16 votes. I don't think he should be frustrated that he didn't win because I mean, like you said, Giannis has been doing this all season. But
Okay, we'll put it this way. LeBron, do you want to get pissed off that you only got 16 first place votes for MVP? Or do you want to be a 4-time champion and win your 4th finals MVP? Which one do you choose? I would hope it would be the latter.
yeah, get the ring, dog.
Get the
Speaking of
ring
ring,
and call it a day. Stop complaining about, little MVP voting.
speaking of ring and how he's gonna get there, the game's a
Are you
lot
getting
closer
married?
now. No, not yet.
I thought you were
It
about to
is.
go there. You're like, speaking of rings, I was like, oh, snap.
Wait, he bought the dimmer do it to him. Nah. The game is now 95-89 Lakers.
Okay.
So
How
they're
many
down
minutes left?
there are 5.5 minutes left in the fourth.
Oh, we about to hop off this pod.
Turn the game on real quick.
Well,
Forget football right now.
Wayne, we hit it all today, and yeah, there's some football to watch too. Your Steelers won today, so I know you're happy. You've at least completed that part of your Sunday journey because you'd be in a different mood if the Steelers had lost.
Oh, I'd be upset right now.
You wouldn't
Everybody
even
catching
hop
the
on the
Patriots.
pod with me.
I'd be like, Drew, I'm going to bed, dude. I don't care if it's 7:30. I gotta go.
But yet, all those days when I was frustrated about the Rockets, I still committed to this podcast. So you got to do
Hey
the same
man,
with me.
I'll stay with you.
Well, don't forget to, if you're listening to us on iTunes, make sure you give us that 5-star rating. Drop a review. We will read it. We appreciate that. You can listen to us on Spotify. Find us on YouTube. Make sure to like and subscribe to us there. And just like we gave you the challenge last week, tell a friend. Send this podcast to someone who enjoys the NBA. Send this podcast to somebody who doesn't enjoy the NBA. Send this podcast to somebody who hates the NBA. We'll take anything, literally anything. But Wayne,
Just tell them to click the link, please.
some words of advice for us before we head out today.
Ooh, words of advice. Hey, you want to know some words of advice right now? Everybody go on like Amazon and order like a raincoat. Like a very just nice raincoat. You want to know why? Especially if you live in Texas right now. We getting rained on. So be prepared. Buy a raincoat. You know what? Better yet, get an umbrella.
Well, no, I was just going to say an umbrella will not suffice. I tried the umbrella today when it was like pouring down rain and I was basically drenched from my waist down. So
invest in a windbreaker.
How about this? How about, the bubbles where you can roll around and you're like basically extended all the way out? Get one of those for this.
Wrap your kids in bubble wrap. Because no, I'm just playing. That's not going to help at all. But literally, it's just wet outside and windy. Like, just be prepared, y'all. Go on Amazon, help out Jeff Bezos a little bit. Send him your money, send him your energy, and get a raincoat. And get the whole outfit. Get the pants. Get the nice little rain boots. You know what I'm saying? Go all out. Get a waterproof case for your phone, because it's raining out here and it's not going to stop.
Shout out to anybody not listening to this in Texas. We're sorry for all this advice.
I'm just upset right now. That's it.
Well, you heard it here first. Make sure you guys wrap your kids in bubble wrap. We appreciate you listening, and we'll see you next time. Peace.
Adios.